I've come back to Bangladesh after 3 years. This is where I cut my teeth as a foreign correspondent, working at the Daily Star, an English newspaper. I've come back at a critical time. Democratic elections have just taken place, and there's new hope that Bangladesh, one of the world's largest Muslim nations, is getting back on track. But the day after I arrived, a national tragedy erupted. In the morning, shots rang out in the center of the city. The capital descended into panic. A meeting had taken place inside the headquarters of the Bangladesh Rifles, or BDR, paramilitaries who guard the country's borders. Suddenly, the BDR soldiers opened fire on their officers. A fierce gun battle ensued. Within hours, reports surfaced that BDR soldiers had killed many officers, although how many and why was unclear. It was a shocking blow to the army, which had spent the last 2 years trying to save the country from a period of corruption and violence. When I lived here, Bangladesh was the most corrupt country in the world. The Prime Minister at the time was Khaleda Zia. Her 2 sons, Tariq and Arafat Rahman, were notorious for their brazen corruption. While the Rahmans and their associates grew rich, poverty deepened. Basic services like clean water broke down, and power outages crippled the country. Political violence spread. The situation became so bad that the army finally seized power in 2007, declaring a state of emergency. The army promised to clean up politics and then step aside once democracy was fit to run again. To lead their effort, they appointed this man, Hassan Masood Chowdhury, a former army chief.
There was a realization everything would ultimately lead to corruption as the source for not going ahead. Unfortunately, the problem is so big, it is so ingrained that I think we just only made the initial move.
With an army of 1,200 investigators and a new set of anti-corruption laws, Chowdhury began tracing millions of dollars in illegal money.
We went for documents, bank accounts, customs papers, land registrations, property registrations, and that's how we built up our cases.
In a shocking move, he arrested the Rahman brothers and their mother, Khaleda Zia. He also arrested another former prime minister, Sheikh Hasina. Both women had competed for control of Bangladesh for more than 30 years, a struggle rife with charges of corruption. Chowdhury has continued to unravel the web of corruption left by the Rahmans and their associates. One case in particular symbolizes how bribery money can fall into the wrong hands. In a recent U.S. court case, Siemens Corporation admitted that it paid $5 million in bribes to land a telecom deal in Bangladesh. About $180,000 went to Arafat Rahman, the son of the former prime minister. Some of the money also went to the former telecommunications minister, Aminul Haq. As it turns out, during the time that Haq was receiving bribes, he was also supporting an Islamic militant group, Jamaatul Mujahideen Bangladesh, or JMB. I wanted to find out more about Haq and JMB. I headed northwest to Haq's hometown, the district of Rajshahi. Rajshahi is a stronghold of the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, or BNP, a powerful political party that the Rahman brothers and their mother control.
Why is that area so important?
Well, that region actually, it's a BNP, they're very strong in that region. So politically, even we go through the election result, in the last 10, 15 years, they were quite strong.
Julfikar Ali Manik is a leading investigative journalist for the Daily Star and has been following the rise of JMB for years.
They wanted to ensure their supremacy. That's why they wanted to take action against their rivals.
Beginning in 2004, Aminul Haq and other BNP officials forged an alliance with JMB, the militant group. JMB began targeting the party's enemies. This man, Fazlur Rahman, was one of them. JMB militants beat him for days, breaking his arms and legs. Thinking him dead, they dumped his body on the roadside, and he managed to escape.
কাজিমের বাড়ির নিকটে পোষামাত্রে আমি আমার স্ত্রী মেয়ে পোষামাত্রে বাংলা ভাই সহযোগী জেএমবি ক্যাডার তার হাতে লোহার রড বাঁশের লাঠি হকি স্টিক লম্বা লম্বা হাঁসড়া ইত্যাদি লইয়া আমার পথ রোধ করে আমাকে ক্যাম্পেইন ইউনিয়ন কাউন্সিলের নিকটে অর্থাৎ
He wants to show us the house where his nightmare took place.
হাতুড়ি ইত্যাদি দিয়ে আমাকে বেঁধে হাত পা বেঁধে পালাক্রমে মেরেছে এবং আপনি দেখবেন
It happened in this small storage room, he says. As Fazlur Rahman shows us around, some of the men he's accused of being JMB supporters arrive. I ask them if Aminul Haq supported JMB.
কোনদিন তারা বলেনি যে ভাই আমরা আসছি আপনার সহায়তা করব বা জেএমবি সহায়তা করে এই ধরনের কোনো কার্যক্রম তারা আমরা স্বচক্ষে দেখিনি বা তাদেরকে মিনিস্টারকে আমরা জীবনে চোখে দেখিনি ভাই
The situation grew tense, and Fazlur Rahman wanted to leave. We've come to a mud farmhouse in a safer area. This is Mohsen Ali. He tells us about the night his son disappeared.
বহু খোঁজাখুঁজি সন্ধ্যা 8-10টা পর্যন্ত আমি বলছি ছেলে এতক্ষণ আসে নাকি এখন তো ওর কাছে মোবাইল নাই বা এইভাবে খোঁজ নেওয়া যায় না তো আমরা চিন্তা করি যে ওষুধ কোম্পানির কাজ করে হয়তো আবার
The next morning, Mohsen Ali went to the same compound where JMB had tortured Fazlur Rahman. There he learned what happened to his son.
কি বলবো ভাই আমার বলার কিছু নেই লোকজনে বললো যে ছেলেটা প্রথম তারা ধরলো যে পড়ে গেছে ওইখানে গুলি করছে গুলি করে তারপরে ধরে জবাই করেছে ওইসব কথা বলতে পারি এটা একটাই ছেলে আমার বলতে পারবো না ভাই
Mr. Ali says his son was killed because he supported the BNP's opposition.
আপনার ছেলেকে কেন মারলো
ওই যে আওয়ামী লীগ করতো তাই মারছে আওয়ামী লীগ করার কারণে মারছে
In 2007, Mohsen Ali and other JMB victims filed cases against Aminul Haq for supporting JMB. Haq was found guilty and sentenced to 31 years in prison. Before he could be apprehended, he fled Bangladesh and is now a fugitive rumored to be either in England or the United States. One night, I went to see the public prosecutor who helped try the case against Haq. He told me that Siemens was not the only corruption Aminul Haq was involved in.
এখন এইখানে সাক্ষীরা যেটা বলছে যে তারা এইভাবে তাদের সামনেই তারা মোবাইলে যোগাযোগ করেছে তারা এইভাবে বলেছে যে মন্ত্রী মহোদয় যে তোমরা চাঁদা না দিলে তাকে নির্যাতন করো এই ধরনের তাদের ইনভেস্টিগেশনটা ছিল এই একটা অপরাধ প্রবণতা শুধু উপস্থিত থাকলে তো হয় না তার পিছনে যারা ব্যাকডোরে তাকে সহযোগিতা করে তারাও তো একই অপরাধী
This is the house of Aminul Haq we've come to, and we're told he's not here, but maybe there's a caretaker or maybe somebody from his family. Before leaving Rajshahi, I decided to visit Haq's family home. We went inside, but we can't show the footage we took. Days after visiting the house, we received a series of threatening phone calls. Aminul Haq's brother, a former Inspector General of Police in Bangladesh, accused us of going inside his house without permission. My local colleagues warned me that there could be serious repercussions for them if we showed the footage. Although JMB started off small, by 2006 it had become a nationwide menace. With hundreds of followers, it carried out a series of suicide bombings and other attacks that left dozens dead. The army finally cracked down, hanging 6 of its leaders in 2007. It seemed that the problem was suppressed, but then came the BDR mutiny. Since the attack, evidence has emerged that some of the BDR mutineers had once belonged to JMB. At first it was unclear how many officers they'd killed, but then a gruesome discovery. dozens of bodies were fished out of a drainage canal. Days later, more bodies were found buried in mass graves on the grounds of the BDR headquarters. With their death, nearly the entire command structure of Bangladesh's army had been wiped out.
We have had a very, very horrendous tragedy in the form of 51 of our officers being slaughtered by these, mutineers. A big tragedy. The army is extremely wounded by this fact.
This is Mahfouz Anam, the editor of the Daily Star, Bangladesh's leading English newspaper.
In my view, the BDR event was definitely a destabilization move, and it would suit, if you like, the game plan of militants in the region to have a state weakened.
Bangladesh's army had struggled for 2 years to clean out corruption and make the country secure enough for democracy again. Coming just 2 months after the army stepped aside, the mutiny forced me to question, was the country really ready? Then, another blow. Hassan Massoud Chowdhury had done his best to wage the army's cleanup drive. He even charged both former prime ministers of Bangladesh with graft. But under increasing political pressure, they were released on bail, and the cases filed against them have stalled. Even the Rahman brothers have been released and are awaiting trial. One of the women he'd arrested, Sheikh Hasina, was elected prime minister in a landslide election. Not long afterward, she began accusing Chowdhury of abusing his powers. A few weeks after I met him, the man appointed to lead Bangladesh's war on corruption resigned under pressure. I'm left to wonder if the cycle of violence and corruption here will only repeat itself again.
There's much more to explore on our website. Discuss the world and tell us what you think of our stories from a small planet at pbs.org/frontlineworld.